things that excited me the most were geological phenomena. They were these big, gorgeous, awe-inspiring kinds of earthworks. That sort of was my trajectory up until I got to glaciers. How could I get people to think about this and still remain a painter? Because you see, this is the rub in terms of my work and a lot of other eco artists' work. My work has always been about painting. And what I'm trying to do is sort of lure people in through the language of paint, which is the only language I know, into maybe thinking about other issues that my paintings are about. So it was about sort of infusing them with clues, with signals, with visual signals, and that's what I started doing. The first strategy was realizing that I could use repeat photography as a way to influence the viewer. And repeat photography is what all the geologists were doing. They would take a photograph for many years of the same glacier at the same time from the same viewpoint. That first iteration of this project, which continues today, was this show that I had at the Locks Gallery called Politics of Snow. And here's the catalog cover. And basically what it was about repeat photography. And I used those as the real crux of the whole exhibition. It was a very large exhibition. People got it because of the wall labels. I mean, it said Grinnell Glacier, 1935, Grinnell Glacier, 1965, all the way up to 2000. These were like 4 major paintings, each one 88 by 50. So 88 by 200 inches. You're confronted with it, you kind of get it, after a while, especially if there are more than one of these kind of concept in a show. So that was my first way of dealing with it. But once again, I did it, enjoyed doing it, figured out how to make the paintings. I needed another way. I needed another kind of strategy because I get bored if I'm doing the same thing. Well, in reading and learning about geology, I certainly learned about recessional lines because that's how they mark how these glaciers, move from 1900 all the way up to 2017. And they've been moving up, unfortunately. So I started incorporating recessional lines in the paintings. Then I started incorporating markers that they use in their mapping. And then I loved seeing what we call Landsat photographs, satellite images from the air. Again, I love looking things from the air. So what could be better than a Landsat? The only problem with them is they're too beautiful. They're so good looking. So I had to figure out how to present them with other things so that you knew it was a map and not a design. First I went to Glacier National Park, which was named that way because it used to have 150 glaciers. It has about 25 now. Soon after that, I wanted more. I wanted to get to the real glaciers. Okay, because this was flying. I mean, I did climb up to Grinnell Glacier, that's true. So what I did is I applied to the arcticcircle.org, got my first residency, and then I really saw glaciers. I went to Svalbard. Svalbard is 400 miles north of Norway, 10 degrees south of the pole. We were, with 24 other artists, going to be sailing around this archipelago. Well, being that my whole way of seeing is not just by going around and shooting, it's about looking down, I had to figure out how I could do that as well. And that was my goal, and I had a year. I mean, I knew I was getting the grant. I mean, I had it, but I got it in 12, and I wasn't leaving until 13. So in that year, I was able, with a lot of machinations, to connect with a scientist at the Norwegian Polar Institute, Dr. Jack Kohler. And with him, I flew over the glaciers, walked on the glaciers. That was really, it was amazing. Ilulissat is this town where Jakobshavn, this glacier is. It's the fastest moving glacier in the Northern Hemisphere. It's the same glacier that sunk the Titanic. And it's really moving, it's really diminishing. And I had looked at all those maps earlier when I was studying with all those recessional lines. So I got a lot of material from Greenland. So that was my Greenland trip in 2014. I don't just go to these places and experience and photograph. I always try to get more knowledge and research by meeting scientists, because it adds to my knowledge base. When I started reaching out to these scientists, one thing I found immediately is that they were very welcoming. Scientists, I think, like artists, and I like scientists, so it was a mutual admiration society. Well, why do they like us? Well, they appreciate our trying to communicate what they're doing. Everything that you experience, if it's sensual, if it's experiential, or if it's, intellectual, it all mixes in.